What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for February 13th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast, a Super Bowl Parade Eve edition of the podcast. Speaking of, some quick programming notes. Tomorrow's episode is already recorded and ready to be posted. It worked out well that the Sixers are heading into the All-Star break as well as the Flyers being on the Four Nations break. So not a lot going on in Philly sports other than the parade. So if anything happens to break with the Sixers, or any of the teams actually, we'll get to that on Saturday. But it should be a very low-key kind of day as we focus on the parade. We will be going down, not sure exactly where yet. I'm shooting for somewhere around Broad and Walnut. So be sure to check me out if you're going to be down there in that area. Got my microphones. Gonna have some fun with it. I don't know how it's gonna work out, if it's gonna work out, but we're certainly gonna try and have some fun. So come over, have a beer, whatever. I know everybody's saying, watch your drinking because of the bathrooms, but we're two-time defending Super Bowl champions. I think we'll figure it out. Or maybe not defending, two-time Super Bowl champions. We'll figure it out. But yeah, be sure to hit me up. Best way to stay in the loop is through my social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Continue to spread the word. Let's grow this thing and outsmart the algorithm. Be sure to check out my friends at the On Pattison newsletter. Great Philly sports coverage, especially with the Phillies coming up. They do a phenomenal job with Phillies. So go check them out, subscribe, get it delivered right to your inbox, and you might even see us featured in there. All right, let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, who is the current face of Philly sports? Is it Bryce Harper or is it Jalen Hurts? 82% of you said it was Jalen Hurts, and I cannot disagree. This is and always probably will be an Eagles town. So the fact that the quarterback is the MVP of the Super Bowl, that to me gives him the nod. Joe from Drescher agreed. 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 win, 1 MVP. Jalen Hurts is the face of Philly sports. Big 40 on TikTok checked in, said right now Jalen is trending toward being the face of the sports, but for right now it's Bryce from April to October and Jalen from November to March. Hard to argue with that logic either. But as always, thanks for participating in the question of the day. We'll have another one later in the show. But Jalen Hurts, the face of Philly sports, and I'm really looking forward to it. I want him to just kind of let his hair down and let loose a little bit tomorrow. Maybe similar to what Tom Brady did when he almost lost the Super Bowl trophy in Tampa Bay when he threw it across the boats. But we'll see. I don't know if he's going to do that or not. But, man, would that be some fun. All right, and going back to yesterday's, TikTok did restore my videos, so I was able to check the numbers. And on TikTok, it was split 50-50 on who was going, who was staying at home for the parade. So it didn't really change the numbers that much. But thanks a lot for that, TikTok. All right, some Eagles news, and the haters are already starting to come out. First, we have Mr. Dak Prescott, who basically was being Dak Prescott. Seems to be under the impression that the Dallas Cowboys are very close to the Eagles. We compete them, and we beat them a lot of the times when we play them. Now, Dak does have good career numbers versus the Eagles from a win-loss perspective. I think he's like 9-4 in his career. Some of those were against Carson Wentz. Some of those were early on in Jalen Hurts' career. One of them was against Gardner Minshew. So if you want to hang your hat on that, go ahead. But let's break down the numbers a little bit, and let's see how close those Dallas Cowboys are. So Dak is 3-1 all-time versus Jalen. However, 2 of those wins came in Jalen's first year as a starter, one of them before Nick Sirianni's flower speech. So it was sort of like that team was trying to figure it all out basically that entire year. So Dak, if you want to hang your hat on that, be my guest. But since you've been the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, the Eagles have 2 Super Bowl wins. That's all you need to know. You're not close. Your owner is a complete and total idiot, a dumpster fire that just continues to burn. But if you want to think that you're close to us, by all means, buddy. Dallas is ready to compete. I think at this point you need to be more worried about getting ahead of the Giants. And then way, way ahead of you guys are the Washington Commanders. So if you think you're ready to compete, go ahead. Kudos to you. Good job. The other hater, or the next hater, I should say, is Amon-Ra. Can never say his name. He was on my fantasy team too. Amon-Ra St. Brown from the Detroit Lions, who is really looking forward to the NFL scheduling the Lions and Eagles on opening Thursday night. Seems to think that it wasn't fair. The Lions were the better team than the Eagles. They were decimated by injuries. Blah, 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 blah. That's like me going back and saying, oh, well, the Eagles would have won the Super Bowl if the fog didn't come into the Fog Bowl. Well, the Eagles would have won the Super Bowl in 1991 if Randall didn't blow out his ACL. We would have won the Super Bowl in 2003 if the guy for the Panthers didn't give McNabb a cheap shot. We would have won the Super Bowl in 2004 if Andy Reid had better time. Do you see where I'm going with this, Amon-Ra? That's fine. Have confidence in your team, but haters going to hate. And you know what? Why not? NFL, if you're listening, set that up. Lions, Eagles, opening night on Thursday night. Sure. On a banner night? Come on. But be careful what you wish for, Amon-Ra. And then, I don't know who, there's a group of fans, and I hesitate to use that word because a lot of people are lumping all of us in together with this, and it's not. But I guess Jason Kelce is getting a lot of hate and backlash because he was rooting for his brother in the Super Bowl. And I don't understand this. It's stupid. He went on his podcast. I listened to it. Was very emotional about it. And truthfully, you got to be better. If these guys are quote-unquote Eagles fans, at the end of the day, I don't care who Jason Kelce's rooting for. I would expect him to root for his brother. He's not on the team. It's not like he's on injured reserve and rooting for the Eagles to lose to the Chiefs. He's retired. Yes, he's an all-time great in Philadelphia. He's one of the best Eagles ever. But he's got to root for his brother. He said he was happy for the guys on the team that he knew. So you got to be better, people. Who cares? Like, the Eagles just won the Super Bowl less than a week ago, and you're worried about who Jason Kelce is rooting for? Like, yes, a lot of the former Eagles always root for the team, and like, they're very involved, Jason Kelce included. But he's rooting for his brother. And at the end of the day, I don't care if every single former retired Eagle roots against the Eagles. As long as the Eagles are winning, I could care less. And to me, there's plenty of room on the bandwagon. Jump on. But you got to be better with the hate and the just ridiculousness that, oh, Jason Kelce, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? He was rooting for his brother. And even if his brother didn't play on the team and he wanted to root for it because his daughter likes Taylor Swift, so what? How is that impacting your life? And this is going to go a little bit off to the side here, veer off the tangent, but that's an issue in our country. People worry too much about what other people are doing. Worry about yourself. Be happy. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not getting political or anything like that. Both sides of the fence. Stop worrying about other people. Worry about yourself. Eagles fans, if you're one of the people who are mad that Jason Kelce was rooting for his brother, be better. That's ridiculous. We just won the Super Bowl. Now I'm showing real emotion. But let's go to some positives. A.J. Brown did go and visit that little boy who got hit in the head during the plane crash, brought the Super Bowl trophy, all kinds of swag, kept his promise. That is amazing to me. And then A.J. Brown, now this is another thing that I don't understand some of our fan base on. Put on his Instagram 2 days after the Super Bowl, reflected on it, happy to be a champion, but he's already going back to next work. He said he enjoys the process. He enjoys the grind. He enjoys embarrassing defensive backs. And people are giving him grief for that. Why? To me, that shows he's focused and he's back to work. And that, to me, is why this team is built different. They're not going out there saying, oh, we won, we're done. No, they want more. Every single person I saw being interviewed talked about, we're not done yet. We want to keep coming back. Jalen Hurts said, this is an addictive feeling. I want more of it. So to give A.J. Brown, who went and took the Super Bowl trophy and all kinds of Super Bowl champion swag to this little boy who is a true hero, you're giving him grief because he said he wants to get back to the grind and he's already back to work? Come on. Be better. If you're one of those fans, again, be better. And just a little side note for all the people saying, oh, bring him home to New England. He's not going anywhere. Stop, idiots. But that does lead to today's question of the day. Do you have a problem that A.J. Brown's ready to get back to work and start focusing on next year? I don't. 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. To me, that is what you want your players to be. Yes, enjoy the moment for a couple days, but at the end of the day, do you think anybody outside of Philadelphia cares that we're the Super Bowl champions right now? No. Every single team in the NFL is starting to get back to work for next year. The fact that my all-pro wide receiver is saying the same thing, I love it. I don't see how you have a problem with it. And if you do have a problem with it, please explain to me why this is an issue and why this is saying he's unhappy or he's this, he's that. The dude just wants to win. The dude wants to be dominant. How is that wrong? But do you have a problem with A.J. Brown's comments? 267-495-8531. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off of your chest. It does look like the Eagles are starting their offensive coordinator search. I kind of like the idea of bringing in Kevin Patula, who is already familiar with the team, and allowing them to just kind of keep some familiarity and things like that. But we'll see as the days come, because right now it's all about focusing on that parade. And then final Eagles note for today. Everybody else is doing this. People are calling out Nick Wright and all the people that hated on the Eagles all year. So I decided on August 31st, I did my Eagles prediction episode. And I rewatched it and kind of want to highlight some of my predictions and picks for the year. I did say they were going to get off to a slow start. And you can go back and listen in the archives. August 31st, this was. But I did say slow start. Those first 4 games are going to be tough. It was going to be an adjustment period, having 2 new coordinators. I did say I'd be happy with 2-2, which the Eagles were. I would not have been surprised if they were 1-3, which was also a very real possibility. That those games were tough. I did say during the bye week, everybody was like, oh, you got week 5 bye. That's not good. The fact of the matter is that was a blessing in disguise. And I thought that. I said, if you can take anything out of this, it's going to give Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore time to sort of evaluate what they have and make the necessary adjustments moving forward. And they sure did. And mainly on defense, look at both sides of the ball. Look at what they did after the bye. They lost 1 game, and that game was a game that Jalen Hurts got knocked out after 5 plays. And they still almost won that game. So just an incredible, incredible job. And going back to my predictions, I said, I was like, I see this being a different team out of the bye week. I was worried about the ghost of 2023, but Nick Sirianni did a great job keeping this ship afloat, keeping it where it needed to go, getting these guys motivated. So kudos to Nick Sirianni for that. My final prediction, I did say they're about a 10 or 11 win team. I went 11-6. They would win the division, go 4-2 in the division. They ended up going 5-1 within the division, and obviously blew my 11-6 prediction out of the water. I did say they would probably win 1 playoff game, maybe 2, but they weren't Super Bowl contenders yet. And I said next year, to me, was going to be the Super Bowl year. So the fact that they overexceeded those expectations, won the Super Bowl this year, I really do firmly believe. I was looking ahead to next year as the year that we saw this year. And now that they got that taste, who knows what's going to happen. But those were my predictions for the Eagles. Going around the NFC, I said the Cowboys are a dumpster fire waiting to be ignited. That came to fruition. I said the Giants are just terrible. That came to fruition. I was wrong with Washington, though. I said Washington's going to be sneaky good. I said they're going to be better near the end of the season, but they weren't ready for prime time. Jaden Daniels is the real deal. They certainly were ready to be on the stage at prime time, but they weren't quite ready for prime time. So I'm going to give myself a half a point for that one. I said Jalen's going to have a breakout year during the regular season. Numbers-wise, didn't really do that, but the dude won the Super Bowl, won the MVP, and in my mind, certified himself as a top 5 quarterback in this league. Around the rest of the NFC, I didn't believe in Detroit, and that seemed to come to fruition. Yes, injuries hurt them, but hey, sometimes it's better to be lucky and good. I said the Rams would be good, and then I said there was going to be a surprise team in the NFC. Was it going to be the Bears or the Seahawks? Turned out to be the Washington Commanders. I said the Niners are going to have a Super Bowl hangover. Part of that was due to injuries. Part of that is still, I don't believe that Brock Purdy is that good. But when it comes to the Eagles, boy, was I glad I was wrong on the Super Bowl prediction. But holding myself accountable, those were sort of my rundown of the predictions for the year. You can go back and listen to that August 31st if you want to hear what I look like or what I sounded like rooting for or predicting this season for the Eagles. But we're on to the parade. Be sure to check out my boys at the Clashing Conferences podcast. New episode from the NFC East drops today, likely the last one of the season. I'm very excited to listen to that and see what the boys had to say, if they give Greg their flowers or not. And then go to Philly Goat, celebrate this Super Bowl championship team. They have all kinds of championship gear. If you're old enough and around my age, you remember the Dream Team in 92. They had those shirts with the caricatures of the all the players on the Dream Team. Ryan and the team over there designed one just like that with your Super Bowl champion Eagles. They have the champ sweatshirt that I can't wait to get. Hats, t-shirts, whatever. Go celebrate, spend some stupid money. I certainly spent a lot of stupid money this week, and get your Super Bowl championship gear. Be sure to use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's phillygoat.com, promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. And now to the bad. The good news is the Sixers are on All-Star break, so they don't play until, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. That's the good news. The bad news was the game. They lost to the Nets 100-96. Quentin Grimes and Kelly Oubre both had 30 points. Paul George, big off-season acquisition, a grand total of 2 points. We got damaged goods, guys. We got damaged goods. I think I said this yesterday. If he was an Amazon order, they would just say, keep it. We'll send you another one for free. That's how bad this has been. No Maxey last night. Thank God they're at the All-Star break. And in light of the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, my view on the Sixers has changed. Howie Roseman is very, very good at admitting that he made a mistake and getting out of those mistakes. I need Daryl Morey and Elton Brand and the front office to do the same thing. This Paul George signing was a mistake. I was wrong on this one. I said I liked it. They talked me into it, Lucy with the football, as they always do. This is a horrible, horrible signing. They need to somehow figure out a way to get out of this. Josh Harris, buy him out. I don't know. I don't even know. But you got to get out of this Paul George thing. Blow it up. Start fresh. And quite honestly, at this point, I'm almost in the... And I don't know how you can do it because of the contract they gave him, but if Joe needs surgery, get the surgery now. I mean, just take the horse out back, put us out of our misery, and let's get higher than the sixth draft pick or higher so we can actually keep it and start looking ahead to the future. But man, I feel worse about this because at least during the process there was hope. This team has no hope. And I can already see how it's going to go. They're going to screw around, get into the play-in tournament, get bounced, and not get any first-round picks, have a terrible team, and just be Sixers. But luckily, we don't have to worry about them until after the All-Star break. Phillies did report yesterday for pitchers and catchers. JT Realmuto they interviewed him. He spoke about having a sense of urgency for this team. We're not getting any younger, he said, and I think you're right. I think this is a do-or-die year for them. They have a hell of a pitching staff. Maybe we can get some of those 1983 Wheeze Kids vibes going with these old heads. But Phillies at least are back, but I think, like I said, ball's in their court. It's do or die. I hope each and every one of them watch this parade tomorrow to see what could be if they learn to take a pitch or two. Because I think that's the thing. If they could take a pitch or two, I think they'll be fine. But, stop swinging for the fences. I think pitching-wise, they're going to be okay. If they can just somehow get their head out of their asses when they're at the plate and not all go into a slump at the same time, they could compete. 1983 Wheeze Kids vibes? Maybe. All right, today we're going to go back to 1994. And on this day in 1994, number 13 UMass beat number 8 Temple 56-55 at the Mullen Centers up in Massachusetts. Aaron McKee had 20. Eddie Jones had 19. But the fireworks for this were after the game. In the post-game press conference, John Chaney stormed into John Calipari's press conference, had to be restrained by security, assistant coaches, even Eddie Jones and Aaron McKee were out there trying to restrain him. Chaney basically told Calipari to shut up, threatened to kill him, kick his ass. He was like, "I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kick your ass. You remember that. I'm going to kill you." He was basically sticking up for the referees. He found out that John Calipari he met with them after the game, and he was under the impression, because it was a hard-fought game, big rivalry back in the 90s. Thought he was giving the referees the business, and he said, basically, you don't speak with them unless I'm there too. He was enraged because he was like, I want to be there. You don't do that without me, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, this was a very heated rivalry. Both teams were at the top of the A10, really head and shoulders above everybody else in the A10 at the time. Xavier was also just a notch below Temple and UMass at the time. Temple had dominated UMass for the longest time until Coach Cal came. And I think this was sort of the crescendo of that rivalry. But it was just Chaney being Chaney. He did get suspended for a game. He and John Calipari did make up. But one of the most bizarre things you'll ever see is Chaney storming into John Calipari's press conference saying he's going to kick his ass and kill him. And I'll be honest, Chaney was a lot younger back then. Calipari was a little skinny. I think Chaney may have opened up a can of whoop ass on John Calipari had he not been restrained. But on this day, back in 1994, UMass beat Temple 56-55. After the post-game press conference, Chaney won a little piece of John Calipari's ass, had to be restrained in one of the most entertaining and bizarre press conferences of all time. A little bit of a bonus question. Let's have some fun on a Thursday before the Eagles parade. Temple UMass was such a big rivalry. I remember I got a sign confiscated by Linda Bruno, the commissioner of the A10, when I was at Temple. If you remember the college game hats that always had the things like South Carolina had Cox on it. I had a UMass one that I undid the M and it said UAss. And I made a big sign. I spent all day making this sign on a big poster board and walked in. And, of course, the entrance at the time where our seats were, I walked in facing directly to the president's box where Linda Bruno, the commissioner of the A10, was. I made it literally halfway down before security was like, dude. And I knew the guy. He was like, Jimbo, you can't bring that in here. I'm like, I spent all day making it. At least give me 10 more seconds of going like this. And he was like, make it look good, but I got to take the sign. And I quick did a whole thing. He took the sign. I asked him to keep it outside so I could pick it up after the game. Unfortunately, it wasn't there outside. But who's the biggest rival right now in Philly sports? Is it? I think for the Sixers, I don't care who their rival is because their own rival is their front office. For the Flyers, they're not there yet. Phillies, obviously, I think it's the Mets. But who the Eagles' biggest rival right now, I would say has to be the Commanders. Maybe the Chiefs. I don't know. What do you think? Give me a little bit bonus on who's the biggest rival, most hated rival right now in Philly sports. I mean, I still hate UMass from back in those days. They're not even in the same conference anymore. I still hate UMass, and I really wish that John Chaney would have kicked John Calipari's ass. All right, finally today, our Black History legacy maker with Philly ties are the Tribune girls. They were an all-black women's basketball team that were sponsored by the Philadelphia Tribune, which was an all-black newspaper, which is still around today. They were led by future Hall of Famer Amon-Ra Washington. They won 11 straight women's colored basketball world championships in the 30s and 40s. They were known for their snappy playing and sharp shooting. They were basically trailblazers in breaking barriers for not only African-American women in sports, but just women in sports in general. The fight for women's rights, they were started right after the suffrage movement and the 19th Amendment was passed. So they were big in bringing attention to women's rights and the fact that women can play basketball. Because they were sponsored by the Tribune and they were so good and Amon-Ra Washington was so dominant, they were able to get some sustained media attention, which really helped make them famous, as well as move the progress forward for not only African American women, but all women in general, and really showing. And it coincided with the World War I and World War II eras, where while all the men were all fighting in the wars, the women were the ones that were back home taking care of working in the factories and everything like this. So the Tribune girls, while yes, it was for sport, were really instrumental in helping the women's rights movement and showing that women, and they were good. They were absolutely dominant. Amon-Ra Washington is one of the greatest players ever. And she was like a tennis player and basketball. Like, she could do it all. But the Tribune girls, eventually during World War II, I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that women had to go work in the factories. They started to fold, but their legacy and their impact on the African American civil rights movement, the women's rights movement, was just paramount in helping push the narrative that, hey, women are good too. And they were a very, very entertaining team. So today we salute the Tribune girls, one of the first all-black women basketball teams who were just absolutely dominant and helped, due to the sustained media attention they had specifically from the Philadelphia Tribune, really were able to help move forward the women's rights as well as the civil rights movement during the 30s and 40s. So shout out to you girls. Hell of a team, hell of a legacy, and right here in our city of Philadelphia. Be sure to let me know the biggest rival that you think right now in Philly. On this day in 1994, John Calipari, John Chaney almost fought in John Calipari's press conference. Chaney had to be restrained after a hard-fought and tough one-point loss to the UMass Minutemen. Some of those games between Temple and UMass, though, they were great. If you ever get a chance to watch highlights or even watch a full game, those games were great. We will have more on the Super Bowl parade tomorrow. Cannot wait. Be sure to look me up on social media. Come find me. Have a beer. Let's have some fun. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for February 13th, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday. And until next time, go Birds.